Okay, this is the rapture. Is it a genetic memory? What caused the Permian-Triassic extinction at the time of the Great Dying, as paleontologists have named it? Now we come to the million-dollar question. What was the proximate cause of the Great Dying? The slow pace with which the process unfolded points to a variety of interrelated factors rather than a single global catastrophe. Scientists have proposed everything from a series of major asteroid strikes, the evidence for which would have been erased by over 200 million years of erosion, to a calamitous change in ocean chemistry, perhaps caused by the sudden release of huge methane deposits created by decaying microorganisms from the bottom of the seafloor. The bulk of recent evidence points to yet another possible culprit, a series of gigantic volcanic eruptions in the region of Pangaea that today corresponds to modern-day eastern Russia, Siberia, and northern China. According to this theory, these eruptions released a huge amount of carbon dioxide into the Earth's atmosphere, which gradually leached down into the oceans. The disastrous effects were threefold: acidification of the water, global warming, and most important of all, a drastic reduction in atmospheric and marine oxygen levels. And that may have resulted in slow asphyxiation of most marine organisms and many terrestrial ones. Could a disaster on the scale of the Permian-Triassic extinction ever happen again? It may well be happening right now, but in super slow motion. The levels of carbon dioxide in the Earth's atmosphere are indisputably increasing, thanks partly to our burning of fossil fuels and our ignoring of the scientific information which tells us that global climate change is occurring. And life in the oceans is beginning to be affected as well, as witness the crises facing coral reef communities around the world, which are dying off at unprecedented rates. It's unlikely that global warming will cause human beings to go extinct anytime soon, but the prospects are less sanguine for the rest of the plants and animals with which we share the planet. As paleontologists say, if you were any life form, the chances of survival during the Permian mass extinction were the same as if you were playing Russian roulette with a revolver with 10 chambers and you put a bullet into 9 of them and spinning the cylinder, pointing at your head and pulling the trigger. No wonder it left a genetic imprint. Oh well, on to more important considerations like our profile pictures and food choice pics and cute kittens and puppies, all of which are here because our ancestors' cylinder landed on an empty chamber. And look where we are now, on the verge of becoming enlightened and awake and able to ensure our own survival as a species if we recognize that, like an ant colony, our greatest strength lies in cooperativity and understanding that God isn't going to come save us because God gave us the ability to save ourselves. And this is our test. A while back, a guy named Harold Camping said that the end of all life and the rapture would be on May 21st, 2011. He had a ton of citations from the Bible, which he said supported his claim. Hundreds of people sold all of their earthly possessions and gave the money to his organization in order to buy their place into heaven when the rapture occurred. Harold Camping was the president of Family Stations Incorporated, also known as Family Radio. He had specialized in predicting momentous events in his future, including the rapture, when many fundamentalists and other evangelical Christians believe that Jesus will come back to earth. Graves will open. Dead bodies of born-again Christians will be reconstituted, will be changed into spirit bodies, and will rise toward Jesus in the sky. Saved individuals living on earth will then be similarly changed and rise into the air. This is a relatively new and insane belief in the history of Christianity, but one that's widely accepted by many fundamentalists and other evangelical Christians. The tribulation will occur. During that time, Jesus will lead a very large army who will exterminate many of those left behind. Now, this is insane, too, because Jesus is the Prince of Peace, not the Prince of War. This will be the greatest genocide in the history of the human race. Over 2 billion people will be murdered according to the way that the religious beliefs dictate. And if they don't believe the way that the people who are talking about the rapture believe, then of course they'll be killed. A loss of life that's going to be more than 300 times greater than the Nazi Holocaust of Jews during the 1930s and 40s, which many people say didn't happen anyway. Judgment Day comes when Jesus would judge individuals and decide whether their final destination will be heaven or hell. And of course, there is no heaven and there is no hell. We are born again over and over again to live new lives and learn new things. But that's another story. The end of the world, when the world and perhaps the universe will be destroyed. Boy, that's insane, isn't it? If the universe is destroyed, we destroy God, because God is the universe and the universe is God. Anyway, this is a less common belief among conservative Christians who don't really like the idea that all their money will be gone because they will be gone because everything will be gone. Then what good does the money do? His website, Harold Camping's website, Family Radio, announced on in 2011 on May 21st, there were 0 days left before Judgment Day and that everybody was going to be doomed if they were evil. And evil to Harold Camping was anybody who didn't believe the way he did, and evil to every other religious leader is everybody who doesn't believe the way they do or the way they tell their flocks to believe. And isn't that sad, really? Harold Camping was wrong. This guy who's predicting that Nibiru is going to destroy us on the 23rd of September is wrong. And people who are thinking about destruction of everything are always wrong. Unless they do it themselves, and we could. We have the capacity to destroy the world. Trump and Kim Jong-un want to destroy the world. They want to destroy it. They want to plunge us into nuclear fire, a nuclear holocaust, and then nothing will be the same again. As the vast majority of commentators predicted, and will predict again, the rapture didn't happen. And on Harold Camping's predicted day, nor will it happen now or on the 23rd or anything like that. Harold Camping left behind, and also the people who are predicting destruction now, left behind and will leave behind many disillusioned followers, and some of whom will have cashed in all their life savings and assets to promote the ideas. They anticipated being part of the rapture. Some had euthanized even Harold Camping's people, and man, who knows, maybe these people are doing that now too. Had euthanized their pets to prevent them from starving to death. Now, insane, again, totally insane. At least 2 believers committed suicide to avoid the tribulation. In addition, a woman tried to kill herself and her children, that we know of, but she was unsuccessful. Harold Camping appears to have had a lot of blood on his hands, and whoever is predicting Nibiru destroying everything now probably has more on theirs. Harold Camping released an audio message that actually used the word probably one time. He said, this is probably going to happen. Well, now we're hearing some other people say this is probably going to happen, and then other people are backpedaling and they don't know what the hell they're saying. Now people are convinced by more attention-seeking charlatans that the brown dwarf star Nibiru is going to either pass by the Earth closely or strike it really against all the stuff that astrophysics shows us. If there was something like Nibiru coming, there would have to be perturbations in our tides and in our climate that are much, much more drastic than what we're seeing now. And a couple of earthquakes, one in Mexico and one in Japan, no matter how tragic the loss of life associated with them are, does not mean that Nibiru is coming. And the extra hurricanes don't mean that either. They just mean that our global climate change has gotten to a point where we need to do something about it, accept what science says. I am a force for science, you see. Accept what science says and start changing things so that we can save our planet and save our human race. And again, like I said, people are expecting there'll be a tribulation now, and these people are terribly misinformed and confused and seem to revel in it for one reason or another. What do they think is going to happen? If everything's destroyed, where are they going to be? How are they going to feel joy? They won't. They just don't understand. They're totally lost, misdirected, and misinformed. Now, can we pass and step into the light of understanding the ways of the universe and one another, or are we going to regress into insane and superstitious stupidity and show ourselves to be a waste of oxygen and a drain on planetary resources, who instead of using science given to us as a means of understanding our existence, believe the words written by ancient people who knew nothing either of the organization or origins of the universe, and really understood very little concerning human motivations or feelings, but decided that to set themselves at the pinnacle of existence by saying that they had been chosen by God to deliver and keep his word to a bunch of semi-civilized human beings who were barely emergent in the realm of self-awareness, they would do this and they would have a power pinnacle position. But all the self-awares at the time were again inclined to believe the words of the more enlightened among them, whether or not these more enlightened ones were truly interested in their enlightenment or enslavement. Today, what I've given you, all you need to live and grow and succeed as a species. I can't make you believe it, but you can. Do a gut check. Is it logical? Does it not make sense? Wake up. Wake up, please. I'm going to do this again and again and again until we're all either extinct or enlightened. I promise you that. But for now, have a good day.